a lot of people in my industry are entrepreneurs by accident, right? They worked in technology, they got fired or they quit, and now they just started a technology company. Like I said earlier, I've always been an entrepreneur. So I'm a business person first and a technologist second. You could replace, if I was smart enough, I could replace tech with anything else. Being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a plumber, being a contractor, it doesn't matter. The key element is how I go about all of the other pieces, like teaching people, coaching, running the conference, doing the podcast, doing whatever, to help the people that are in my industry.
Welcome to Allow Yourself podcast. Today we have a very interesting person here that has the two main things in our lives, computers and humanity. And it's very interesting for me to know all the creativity and all those questions. So we are today inviting Justin Esgar. And Justin Esgar is the founder and the CEO of Virtua Consulting Group, a New York-based Apple-focused IT consultancy serving businesses and organizations across the country through its brand Virtua Computers and My Mac Mentor. With more than 20 years of industry experience, Justin specializes in helping small businesses, nonprofits, and growing teams leverage technology to work smarter, safer, and more efficiently. And beyond consulting, Justin is the creator and organizer of the ACES Conference, a premier business event for Apple consultants and MSPs, and the founder of Violet Rome, a creative venture focused on storytelling, media, and new ideas. Known for blending technical expertise with entrepreneurial energy, Justin is also a speaker, podcast host, author, and longtime advocate for empowering people through technology. So let's welcome Justin.
Fanfare and applause and everything. Everyone's pulled over. They're shocked and they want to hear it. Yeah. Hi.
It's very interesting because for me, we usually have coaches here, or we have psychologists, and we are lately bringing the CEOs and these two interesting that parts of our brain, our left brain, and and right brain. So my curiosity is really exploding. So when you hear the expression allow yourself, what comes to mind?
I mean, there's been very few times that someone has actually said that to me, so it's tough to come up with that. But I mean, in reality, I think it's just to allow myself to kind of explain what I've done with my life and where I have it going and why I do the things I do. I mean, you know, you read my bio, and for anyone who's listening, it sounds like I do a lot, and I do. I'm not going to downplay that, but where all of those pieces like intersect, um, is where it comes from, right? Like I allow myself to work on these projects because they all intersect from this like semi-centered point, and I can use my skills and my knowledge of my community and whoever to take this central point and like work outwards. I've always said like it's a hub and spoke kind of methodology for me. And where I can take that, I think saying like allow yourself is giving me the ability to just say like, you know what, take it to as far as you can go and keep going.
It's very nice. It's like a free flow. Just see where it takes me. Just allow myself to explore the creativity where this can lead to, and
Yeah.
um, that's not for granted.
Right.
That's something that you learn somewhere because usually life limits us when we are in school, when we are in I don't know, religion, in parents, people tell us not to do this and not to do that, the limitations, and usually we call it limited beliefs that keep us holding back. But it's like you allow yourself to explore all those uh,
The new
create
ideas, yeah.
the, the unknown.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every venture that I've taken since I've started Virtua Computers, which was the initial company before Virtua Consulting Group, everything has come from that. Every idea, well, with the exception of like two little ones, everything has come from that. But even those two little ones, which we'll get into later, the way I did those stemmed from the fact that I did the first thing and I learned how to do it. And so I'm allowing myself to continue to try new things, build new things, test my own limits, um, help others, whatever it may be, all because I started from a point and I said, you know what? Let me try this. And this worked. And I'm like, then I'm going to try this. And I was like, this works because that worked. And like, I'm going to try this. And like, that worked because these two things worked. I'm going to try this. And that failed because I did something that the other things didn't have. You know, I mean, but I said, let me just allow myself to get past that and move on and try something else. So yeah, I don't, I don't really let a whole lot hold me back, truthfully. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, I am a I have a family and a mortgage and like bills to pay. I'm not like, free form just throwing $100 bills everywhere or whatever it is. Um, so I do have limitations, obviously. Like I'm not gonna go and build something that will put my entire like financial situation at risk. But as long as it doesn't like hit those outer edges of the sandbox that I play in, like let's go. Let's do it. That's why I'm here, right? Like we connected and you were like, "Do you want to be on my podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. Like let's do it. Why not?" Right? It's that kind of mentality of just trying. Keep in mind though, just for the listener, when when I'm not like in front of the camera, I am literally like everything sucks. But like in front of everyone, I'm like, yeah, let's go, let's do this, let's try something new. Because there's like a nice wavy balance between those two things. And if I can keep on more on the up of like, let's go, let's do this, let me try something new, like all the better.
So, if I am listening correct, you are a risk taker. Uh,
Yeah, for
you're a
sure.
risk, so you allow yourself to take risk. You allow yourself to be successful because to fail, everybody fails, and
Right.
we think that we are afraid of failing, but really we are more afraid of being successful to see where it takes us and what people will ask us and how people will see us differently when we are very successful. And you allow yourself to become what did you have in yourself to allow yourself to become successful in and building multiple businesses?
Well, truthfully, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, right? I tell this story all the time. So anyone who's heard me before heard it, but if you haven't, like when I was in like fifth grade, my friend Evan would make like these paper origami pencil holders, and I'd buy them from him, and I would turn 180 degrees whoever was on the other side of me, and I'd sell them for 5 times. Like I'd buy them off of him for a nickel to my left, and I'd sell them to the kid on the right for a quarter. When I was in high school, we had this thing called the Future Business Leaders of America. I was like the number one candy seller, you know. Um, when I was in college, I was already good at computers. And so I went to like every person I knew who worked at the school I went to, and I was like, let me fix your computers and you'll pay me, you know. So I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I think I got it from my grandfather who owned his own business for many years. And when the time came for me to be able to start something, it was 2008, at the time it was the worst economy yet. No one knew obviously the future. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start something. And I started Virtual Computers and I literally did everything I needed to do. I called everyone I knew. I joined groups. I networked. I spoke. I met people. I went to coffee. Everybody I knew, I would find some way. And I just pushed through it. I mean, keep in mind, I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island. I lived in Manhattan for many years. I have that, what they would call New York attitude towards things. I really don't let a lot bother me unless it's my own fault. And I think having that entrepreneurial spirit plus that like New York hardening attitude plus kind of a like I don't give an F attitude towards things um allowed me to kind of just do the next thing. And if I lost a client, all right, I lost a client. Well, I went and I found two more. You know, when I started my original app business, it was because I took a risk and I tried something and it worked. And then I tried like three more apps and they all sucked and failed. Okay. But then I tried the conference and that worked. And then I just did we just had our 12th year just a couple of weeks ago. And then I started doing hardware and I started doing apps again and I started doing this and I started doing it. I don't take no well. I don't think I never really took. You can ask my mom. My mom is he never if my mom ever told me no, I'd be like, nah, no, 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 I'm gonna do it anyway, right? So I think being entrepreneurial and hard-headed and a New Yorker and not taking no as an answer like right out the gate, which is annoying because my kid is like that. My 11-year-old son, if I tell him no, he's like, why? 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 And I'm like, oh my God, you're so annoying. And my mom's like, see, this is what you were like. Um, but yeah, it just powered me to go through. And whenever I really like a good challenge. I really like building things and fixing things. And so I really like a good challenge. And so when I find a challenge, I'm like, I'm gonna figure this the hell out and I'm gonna do it. And whether that challenge is,
That's
something
your
in,
fuel.
yeah,
Your
that's fuel.
challenge.
But like whether it's something in business or even like something in my wife wanted me to build her an office. I was like, I've never built an office before. I know how to use power tools. I've used wood. Let's build an office. And we did it. Like you challenge me and I will do it for sure.
It's very motivating to see that kind of energy and the fuel that you have, and now you are seeing in the mirror with your son. I understand that
Yeah.
you're a family person too, and not only that, what I'm perceiving you talking about is that you are a very person people, networking, going out, asking people. So you know that you're not selling computer to computers, you're selling to
Yeah.
people. So you
Yeah.
need the people part, the humanity, how to work with it. And so what do you allow yourself to keep going with that question to align, let's say, to be between the ambition and your alignment of the tech part and the humanity part. You know what I mean?
I think the conference that I built is that alignment that you're talking about, right? So to do what I do, and for those who don't know, you said it before, I'm an Apple consultant through and through. What that means is we're outsourced IT support for small to medium businesses who have Apple products, right? We take care of everything, the computer, the network, the printers, the phones, or whatever. And I started this conference, ACES, because I needed to learn better business tactics for this job, for this role as a Apple consultant or an MSP. And that really brought about the people part. I'd always been funny. I've taken an amateur comedy class. I've done stage time, sure. But being able to convince other people who do what you do, who are basically your competitors, to pay you to be in a room, to listen to speakers that you picked, and then schmooze for the 2 days that we have the conference and be on and be like, that was great. Our next speaker is going to be this person. They're doing this thing. And oh my God, this is awesome. Ah. It takes a lot, right? Like, not everyone's kind of got that. But when it's all done and I get the accolades from my colleagues of like, dude, that was the best conference. Like 12 years running, I've heard that was the best conference yet. This is the greatest speaker lineup. These are the best sponsors. This was amazing food. This was a great venue. Like that motivates me because every year I've said I'm never doing this again because it's such a pain. Hosting a conference is a pain in the ass. And so every year I go, I'm never doing this again. And then the day after the conference, when everyone's like, that was amazing. I can't believe you did that. Where are we going to be next year? And I'm like, I'll figure it out tomorrow. And my wife's like, shut the hell up. You said you weren't doing it again. And lo and behold, I've said that for 12 years. So the motivation comes from that feedback. And even in the virtual world, solving someone's IT problem and then being like, oh my God, thank you. This has been bothering me forever is such a good feeling for me that it's what motivated me to keep going. When I go and I write a piece of software and I get it out there and I see a 5-star review, that's what does it for me. Like if I was just putting stuff out there and I was getting no feedback, I'd probably be miserable. But I'll give another great example. So I'm the host of the All Things MSP podcast. Okay. It's not my group. It's a guy named Eric Anthony. It's his group. I'm just the host. So I'm just a flapping head. Every Friday we record, every Tuesday it comes out. And excuse me, we've put out 160 episodes. And now I go to conferences for PC MSPs. So kind of what I do, but for PCs. And every time I'm at one of these shows, I'll be like talking to somebody just at the bar after the show is over. Like we're all kind of like hanging out, doing whatever. And I'll say something, and someone will be like, "Oh my God, are you the guy from All Things MSP?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You're like famous." And I'm like, "I'm not famous. I'm just Justin." But that feedback, I mean, I was in Ohio of all places, and I was talking to a dude for 20 minutes. It was like me, this guy, a couple of sponsors, and someone who works for me, this other guy named Justin. And it's just like, dude, we're talking 20, 30 minutes. And finally he goes, are you the been a near guy? Because that's the music, that's the sound effect I make at the beginning of every show. It's an inside joke. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And he's like, dude, I've listened to like 10 hours of your show in the last 2 days. To which I'm always like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But that that feedback, that like somebody's out there listening to the advice I'm giving them, because I do coaching in that regard. I'm like, that's what fuels me. Don't get me wrong. I would love to be fueled, but I am also fueled by money and I want money and I always want money, but we all are. But to get that, like somebody tells me that they drove from Ohio to Kansas and they listened to my podcast the entire time, like that's crazy to me. And that's what does it.
Eh, I really like your explanation because here you're talking about the feedback that you're getting when you solve a problem, and how do you feel when somebody uh, is being helped and feel they're learning when the advice you give and how that it's not about your ego. Also, it works also, but
I mean,
it works.
it's a little bit about money.
Yeah, no, but if the first part wasn't there, according to me, I don't know, that's my opinion. If the first part wasn't there, that you're helping people, that you're solving problems to people, the feedback wouldn't be like that, and your ego wouldn't be like that, and your money wouldn't be like that. Because usually the
Right.
money
That is correct.
follows the money follows the help you're giving. It's not, look at me, I'm famous, I have a podcast, a conference. You're not with that attitude since the beginning, since your website. I read your website, and you have things that really catch my eye, like happiness is contagious. That when you're, it says that when you're recruiting, you're not recruiting just for technical, you look also for infectious positive energy.
Yeah.
So that catch my that
Positive people
catch.
breed positive workspaces. Yeah.
Eh, so you really take that into consideration. It's not only the dry part of the how good he's in with hardware or software of computers or whatever. It's a teamwork. It's people working with computers. It's not that the yes, we are kind of afraid that people are putting us in our head that AI will take all the people relationships. But for me, listening to you, it's a clear example that it doesn't work by itself. You cannot be just computers. You need the people to use the computers, and you need the people to network and to see. And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. If you think that the computers are just solving problems and unconnecting people, distancing people, or you think that it can really help to connect people?
Honestly, a computer is a tool. It is like a hammer or a screwdriver, right? And I always joke around, like from the IT perspective, like the best computers are the ones that are still in a box because they never break. Because it's not the computer that broke, it's the human who did something that probably broke it, whether you as the user or someone else broke something. So computers are just a tool. I feel like in this day and age, some of the pieces of software that are out there may have ideally supposed to have brought us together, have actually pushed us further apart. And we can look at studies and data from things like social media and things like that. Um, like I said, I have an 11-year-old, and watching him like fight with AI right now to like get things done. I'm teaching him about AI because I want to give him a strategic advantage moving forward. But I'm also like, all right, close your laptop and go play outside with your friends because that is equally as important. Um, so you know, I think computers have their place much like any other tool, and I do think that it will come down to people's personalities. If you have a Zoom call with somebody and that person's a straight introvert and doesn't talk the entire time you're on a Zoom call, what was the point of being on the Zoom call? Right? And it wouldn't matter if you were on a Zoom call or in person with that person, that particular individual is going to be that particular the way they are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there are ways that computers can help interact with people like that you can't do face to face, right? Um, Maybe that person doesn't want to be on camera or talk, but they're okay typing. So maybe Slack or Microsoft Teams is the answer, right? So there's always ways. So computers are used to facilitate situations, but I, you know, there's the generation, 2 generations above me that are like, computers are fangled objects from space and they're just killing all of our kids' brain cells. And then there's like my generation of parents who still don't understand computers, and they're like, AI is from space and it's killing our kids' brain cells, and like social media is doing these things. I, it's a matter of just knowing its limitations, and I think if generally speaking people smartened up about technology, we wouldn't have nearly half the problems we have. But so many people are so quick to go like, I'm afraid of technology. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's a tool. If you've picked up a hammer and hit it on your thumb, you're never going to not pick up another hammer, right? So like those kinds of things. Now, AI is a completely different beast, and we can go down that path if you really want to. Um, there's a time and a place for AI. I'm learning a lot about it. I build a lot with AI on a regular basis because I'm testing some limitations of my own self and what I can do with it. I think that the news makes AI seem scarier. It's coming for your jobs. It's going to replace every human. It's not. Um, but like I said, AI, even generative AI, is a tool. There's a time and a place for it.
You go to tools. I can go and say the same thing about water and fire. You can use water to drink, or you can drown in water. You
Right.
can use fire to cook, or you can get burned with fire.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so, so, it's very important to just put it as a tool that is not alive, and you have around that so many other things to do. And one of the things that I heard you say is that, and is your vulnerability, that you allow yourself to be vulnerable. And I mean that you don't know, you know, is um, that place. I'm a woman, and especially when I speak with men, they are not allowed. They have been taught that they have to know everything, and they cannot connect to emotions and feelings.
Hmm.
And you allow yourself to be vulnerable and not to know. Like you said, building the conference, you had to go and learn a lot of things to make it happen. So,
Yeah.
what would you say to your, let's say, teenager or your son about allowing self to be vulnerable?
Mm. It's actually a really good question because I actually have been asking myself that question and how I can get that emotionality through to my son. You know, growing up, here's the thing, like growing up, I wasn't a sports kid and I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So like I wasn't a sports kid, so I wasn't cool. And I was into computers, so I was clearly a nerd. But I was a nerd who like cared about his appearance and like kept his room clean and like dressed nice, you know, I mean, for the most part, dressed cleanly. I was gonna say nicely. I wear a lot of baggy pants. It was the 80s, guys. Um, but like, you know, and I watched shows like I use this as it's a crappy example, but I used to watch that show Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which was like the five gay guys who would go help. And I was like, I want to be on that show because I want to be taken care of. But like I use the stuff that I learned in that show, you know, and I try to position myself and have emotions and be in touch with things. Like I used to be really popular with all the girls because I would talk to them as opposed to just always hitting on them and things like that. Like all the, you know, that that emotional connection. And I'm having a hard time because my son, my son is a boy's boy. He plays sports and he's harsh and he wants to wrestle and beat people up and you know be extreme and all these things and I'm like whoa, why don't we take a step back and why don't we look at these other things? He's like no, I'm gonna like "Ah." Like I'm like dude, so it's really hard for me to like teach him that vulnerability. um and I'm vulnerable myself in the question of like am I being a good father in that regards of like should I lean in harder on the boys boy thing and let him and show him those things and be like, yeah, you could go to lacrosse and go tackle that kid and like whatever. Or should I try to teach him how to be vulnerable and how to be more like me, you know, because he wants to be like me. He sees the way I am and he sees that you know, I have this really nice office and I've built out this business and I have all these people who talk to me and want to talk to me and all these things. So I'm having a hard time juggling all of that um mentally. And you know, I think any father of an 11-year-old boy who's a sports kid when you weren't is probably in the same boat. All of his friends' dads are all sports guys, right? So like when the dads are all together, like I'm the odd man out, which is why I tend to hang out with all the moms, but I'm the odd man out there too. Um, because I don't know, I just don't care about sports. I never did. I never did.
Yeah.
I watch F1. I watch F1 and last year when Lando Norris won and I was so excited. I was like, this is what all my friends feel like when their team wins the Super Bowl. Like I didn't know how that I've never felt that before in my life. So, yeah, it's hard for me to try to teach him that vulnerability thing. I want to just throw in this quick anecdote though because I was just thinking about this and it's so funny to me that so when I was growing up like I said I used to watch that show Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, right? Prior to starting my own business, I worked for a company who did the same thing I do. That company's long gone. And I somehow or other got us approved to be a vendor for the production company that does Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. So there's an episode of the original show that my old company is in like the special thanks because I went and I installed like a wireless router at like a Elks Club in like Long Island at one time. So it all came kind of full circle for me that day. I have a thank you letter somewhere in my closet over there with like, dear Justin, we want to really thank you for being a participant on the show. Too bad you didn't meet the guys. Haha. Like, whatever.
That's how the full circle goes
Full
in. And
circle. Yeah.
yeah, usually they say that we have kids that come to teach us what we need to teach, we need to learn, right? Because we are mirrors all the time. We are mirroring all the time. So
Yeah.
sometimes we are as parents ask ourselves those questions. And my answer for myself, okay, I don't know if it would help you or the audience, but my answer for myself was he's him and that's what he likes, but he sees you and he feels you and he sees the way you're a role model anyway, even if you don't want.
Yeah.
So if he will need those traits, he knows where to go. He
Yeah.
has them on the air surrounded. And one of the best thing that I feel myself to have as a parent, and I think that's your main characteristic, is your empathy. You can put yourself
Yeah.
in the shoes of somebody else, and that's not for granted. That's a very unique, not popular, especially between men, um, characteristic to be able to. Maybe that's why you are more with the women than with the men. It's not only because of the sports, it's because you have that empathy to put yourself in the place of the other. So it's easier for you to understand a lot of things. And now I understand a lot of your duality in your company, because it's it's really, yeah, it really shows who you are. It really shows your tech, um, your thirst to solve problems and to help people solve their problems and make their lives easier, and also the conference. So because through the conference you do that in the emotional part.
Right. I mean, like I said, the tech is irrelevant to the whole thing because the tech is just the tool that I use, right? I tend to on the podcast say like, if you need help with something, hit me up on LinkedIn. And I've had two or three people who have listened to the podcast hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll throw them my calendar and I'll spend 30 minutes with them, free, no charge, just to talk to them about their business. And the accolade I get from them, like somebody posted about me the other day on LinkedIn, being like, I took a shot and I reached out to Justin and he was so gracious with his time and it really helped me and like make me understand what I have to do. Like that's amazing. Cause like I always say that me now for Virtua and Aces, the goal is because I like helping other companies grow. That is what does it for me. I like helping other companies grow. And if that means I'm solving a tech problem, I'm teaching you about business, I'm speaking at your event, I'm coming on your podcast and you're using my name, whatever it is. Like, if I can help you grow in some way, shape, or form, I know I've done well and I can rest at night. So that that is a very empathetic trait because I have to put myself in your shoes and I have to see what it's like to be able to say, okay, here are the problems. Let me focus in. Let me see all the problems that we're dealing with, and like let's go tackle these one in a row. And then I'm gonna lay out this plan and give it to you. And I've been doing that for years. For years, I've been that kind of person, even in high school. So that is really what kind of drives all of it. The tech side of it just happens to be because I'm good at tech. A lot of people in my industry are entrepreneurs by accident, right? They worked in technology, they got fired or they quit, and now they just started a technology company. Like I said earlier, I've always been an entrepreneur. So I'm a business person first and a technologist second. You could replace, if I was smart enough, I could replace tech with anything else. Being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a plumber, being a contractor, it doesn't matter. The key element is how I go about all of the other pieces, like teaching people, coaching, running the conference, doing the podcast, doing whatever, to help the people that are in my industry. It just so happens that I'm surrounded by the tech. I'm literally earlier today, because I have my main computer here and I have my laptop I'm working on a project on, and I have a tester laptop that I'm doing another project on. I had my iPad and I had my son's laptop, and I was like, this is too much tech on my desk. Like I couldn't handle it. But if I can help somebody move the needle on their business, then I feel I've accomplished something with that person. And I think the podcast is what does it. That's why I like when people tell me they've listened to the podcast for hours. Like I joke around being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you listened for 10 hours. That's ridiculous, and I'm really sorry." But the reality is the reason they're listening for so long to that podcast, and I'm sure it's the same for you and yours, is that like you're legit putting out content that is helping other people. And if I can do that, if this episode between you and I can inspire somebody to do that, all the more reason for me to exist in this world to do things like this.
And it comes to one word that you
I've
have
made you
behind you.
speechless, Beatrice. It's the first
No,
time.
hey, no, I was just thinking how to say it because what everything that you said comes down to one word that you have behind. You're giving hope to the people that they can solve, they can grow, they can evolve because you allow yourself to do all those things to yourself. You're a role model. You're showing that everybody can, and you're giving that hope. And it's you say, okay, the computer is a tool, but a lot of people that work in tech is not just a tool; it's their lives, and they are like, this is what it is. It doesn't matter what I feel, and it doesn't matter what I say. It's like this is me, and it's very square, and it's because I work with a lot of phototherapy, so I help a lot of people that think like that, that are the left brain is really structure and thinking and numbers to open to the emotion and even the 3D and the language and the talking and the expressing themselves because they were taught not to. They were not allowed. By the way, what's the word Virtua mean for your company? Because Virtua,
What does Virtua mean? Virtua legit does not mean anything. When I was 14 years old, I got a DBA with, and I just thought it sounded cool. It literally
but
has no meaning.
but you know that in Spanish, virtud means good thing.
Oh,
It's a very good thing. Look
okay.
for the
Wait. All
word
right. So then here,
virtue.
wait, Beatrice, ask me again what Virtua means. Ask me again what
What
Virtua means.
virtue means?
Virtua
Okay,
doesn't
so
mean
what virtue
anything.
means?
Virtua doesn't mean anything, but in Spanish, it means a good thing.
Look, yes, look for the word. It is a very positive word. Virtud
Okay. Who knew?
is
I took French in high school and I was horrible at it, so I'll take your word for it.
is Spanish is my first language, so uh, it's it's a virtud is something. It's a good characteristic that a person has. That's
Right.
a virtud. That's a virtud. So really, really nice. So we have talked about balancing logic and creativity and permission to evolve and also, in your case, you don't even. A lot of people allow themselves to lose themselves in their business, but I see how do you balance your not to lose yourself?
Huh. I don't want to answer that question because I'm completely unbalanced. I live and breathe to work, to build, to do stuff. I spend my weekends on my laptop playing with stuff, you know. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an absent father. I'm not ignoring my kids. I'm doing stuff with them too, whatever. But you know, as a person, I have my normal rituals. Like I make dinner every night for our family. We eat together as a family. That's very important to me. Over the last season where my son had lacrosse, I always felt like we were rushing or like somebody wasn't there for dinner because we had to get, over him to the field or my daughter to her field or whatever. But like now that the sports seasons are over, we can sit and eat together as a family. That's very important to me. Um, and I have to give credit where credit's due. I have a lovely wife, and she really does keep me emotionally balanced. And as much as I don't want to, tell her that she's right ever, just because no husband does. Um,
Yes.
a lot of the time she is. A lot of the time she is. Um, and it's helped me like keep my balance for what I'm trying to do. A lot of the time, I am just like my brain just wants to run ideas. She's really good at just hearing it all and like helping disseminate it. But alternatively, I'm also really good at that for her, right? So I'm
So
working
you're
on
a
this
good
new,
listener. You're a good
yeah,
listener. Mhm.
but we logically understand one another when we get stuck in that puzzle. Like I'm working on this new app idea right now, and I remember it was the weekend And I really wanted to just like sit and work on it and hack through this problem that I was having. And she's like, nope, we're going to the supermarket. Let's go. And so as a family, we all went to the supermarket and there were like too many people there. And I was still all jittery because I was trying to think about this thing. And I just looked at her and she was like, just be in the moment and go get that pizza kit. And I was like, okay. And I got the pizza kit and I just stopped thinking about the app for a little while. And then I came home and I figured out the answer. Like, it's just one of those things where she can like help pull me out of those like weird recesses. And you need someone like that. That's hard. Um, it's I don't think I know a single human being who can pull themselves out of something like that. And so you need people in your life who you can rely on who can do that for you. Excuse me. And so I lucked out getting her in my life to be able to do that. So that's really the only thing. Otherwise, if I didn't have her or the kids or have to have dinner, like I would be like 70 pounds heavier and just in my face with my face in my laptop all day long working on stuff and not giving a flying hoot about anything else. But responsibility matters. Um, Plus, I do have other interests. I have other things I like to do other than work, but I do really kind of live to work.
That's okay. According to chapter 11 of my book, that's the story you're telling yourself. That
Sure.
it's one of the main parts because when I'm listening, that's not the story I would tell about you. You have your balance there. You have your dinner, for example. It's a nice pause to not be in that and gives you also inspiration time to think and reaccommodate your ideas. That what's that your wife did taking you out of to the supermarket is to just break, as you say, that cycle and pause to let your brain accommodate and then find the answer. Those little pauses and those little spaces make a lot of balance. We don't need to go on vacation for balance. We don't need to. That's my opinion. That we don't need to take 2 days off to balance and be with the family. These small pauses, you can do that with the small pauses, with your dinner, with just going to the supermarket, with just playing with your kid. That brings another kind of inspiration to your mind. It doesn't matter if it's computer, it's whatever you're doing is like, but today is so hard to rest and to pause
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
guilt because we have to be performing and we have to be producing, even if it's producing networking or people or whatever. And it's so necessary, it's as necessary as the performing to have those little spaces. I don't know, but I think in the computer, when it gets overwhelmed, it stops too, right? You need to reset it.
I mean, it used to, not so much anymore, but
Uh,
yeah, there are times where like if you push it too hard, it'll just kind of like
just
it'll blurp on you.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
or get stuck, and then you need to reset it. It's I remember telling my kids, um, telling you 30 years ago, they were really fast with the calculator, and I used to tell them, let them breathe, let the calculator breathe. You're going to break it. So these little
Well, we do
process.
tell people to restart their computers once a week for the same reason, right? Like, yeah, like we do definitely want to make sure that those computers get that restart. Like we joke around in the IT industry, like, did you restart it? The reason we're doing that is the same reason why humans have to do it is like we need to reset its brain. And so if the pause is I'm gonna go take an hour to go make dinner, or I'm gonna go to the supermarket with my family, you know, just to break away from being in front of the screen. Because if I'm just staring at the screen, I'm staring at letters that are not making any sense. I need to be able to like reset that and get into a mode. And for me, the supermarket works because I like cooking. So I like food. I like being around food, right? That might not be for everybody. Maybe it's go to the movies. Maybe it's read a book. Maybe it's take a walk. And this isn't like a new concept. I'm sure anyone who's listening has like heard this before, that you need to take a break. So many of us want to jump to like doom scrolling on TikTok. That's not the answer. Um, but um it's just one of those things where we have to like you have to do that to like pull yourself out of it sometimes.
To restart is the restart
Exactly.
of
Restart.
your computer.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, it has been such a nice conversation and I hope the audience gets a lot of things that you have shared with us. And before closing, I would like to ask you, what would allowing yourself fully mean for you in your next chapter of your life?
Why is the last question so hard hitting? Um,
Okay, so
no, no, no.
look,
I got it. I got it. I'll figure it out. Um, there are a lot of parts of my own main business, Virtua, that I do not allow other members of my team to do. And not that not that I do them, not that with me doing them is holding us back, but I do feel like if I found the right team member to take it off my plate and I allowed someone to do those few things, um, there is a chance that we would do better. And so I have to be comfortable. And I'm specifically talking about the finances for our company. Like I grew up in a Jewish household. We don't let other people touch our finances, right?
yeah, I'm Jewish too, so I understand that.
Nice. So I think if I found the right CFO financier person to handle the books and take that off my plate and help figure out the problems or the things that I think are going on or whatever, it would free up a lot of my mental worry and allow me to use that space that I'm stuck worrying about money on a regular basis, because every business owner is. If I didn't have to worry about money on a regular basis in that regards, I could use that brain space for something even more powerful. And so I need to allow myself to go and do that. And that's a really big ask for me to be able to do. And not that I'm looking for it right now either, but eventually in order for my company to take that next logical step, because like how many CEOs do you know if major companies are also the CFO? None. The answer is zero. So if I allow myself to do that and I allow myself to kind of let go of a little bit more of the reins, I've given up a lot in the last 3 years. I'm very proud of myself for what I have given up. But if I can give up a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and Virtua could become autonomous and need me just for as like a visionary, that would be ideal.
It's not that easy. I used to say I had another company before. Uh, I was the CEO, the CFO, and the UFO of the company. I put it there
Yeah.
because it really interferes with the wide vision of the company when you are focusing. Um, and one of the main things that I realized back then, I don't know if it's your case, but um, it's a matter of trust. But we think we don't trust others. We don't trust ourselves that we can let it go. We don't trust
Right.
ourselves that other can do it as well as I can do. So it's a matter of working on ourselves before releasing releasing that part. Yes, we are taught that way. And if you
Yeah.
release that, I don't know, in your family, but in my family, it has to be somebody from the family or somebody related to you that you can really trust, right? That will keep you interested. But
Yeah.
you have it very clear that you can do much more if somebody can take that that part, and that's 50% of the problem solved already.
Right. The other 50% is finding that person and finding the money to pay for that person, but that is also half their job. So, it's kind of being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Hey, will come once you ask. That's my belief. If you ask the universe, the person, and yeah, I'm looking for it, the how it's yours, the universe bring it to me. Uh, you're already open, even if you're not looking for it. You are because you are
Yeah.
open to see if the person pops up in your circle. That they can do that even if you're not doing. Um, what advice would you say to our audience just to close it?
Take risks. I'm assuming your audience is a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And people who want to move forward with their stuff. Take the risk, take the jump. I learned this lesson a long time ago. if you're afraid to take a risk, check your safety net. And so here's what I mean. This is the piece of it. I wanted to take a massive risk with something with my business, and I thought to myself, like, what's the worst that can happen? And the worst that could happen at that time was I can lose all my money and lose our house. And I said, all right, well, how am I going to solve us if we lose our house? So I called my mom and I called my mother-in-law, and I said to them, listen, I'm going to take a risk with my business and it will pay off. But if for whatever reason it goes south, can I and us as a family move in with you till I fix the problem? I'm not putting you on alert. I'm not alarming you. I just need to know for myself that that option is always there. And of course, they both said yes. And I was like, cool. I've now given myself the permission to take that risk. And that's where a lot of people fail. They forget to get that safety net. So if you have that safety net or if you don't have that safety net, find one and then take the risk, because most likely it'll pay off. Unless it's something like, if your risk is like, I'm going to spend $10,000 on lotto tickets, like that's not a risk. That's stupid. If you actually have a risk that you've done the math on and you've done the calculations and you know it'll work, but you're still afraid, get yourself a safety net and then do it anyway.
I'm smiling because um, you put in other words my way of thinking too. That is, I went through a lot. I went through a trial, a penal trial that they could put me in jail. So the question is, what's the worst that can happen, right? To put me in jail.
Yeah.
So what would I do if they put me in jail? So who is taking care of the business? Who is doing this? Who is doing that? And what am I going to do inside, right?
Right.
And the same thing when I was getting a divorce, is what's the worst that can happen is that I don't have the business. The business won't be mine. I won't have any money. What would happen if he stops paying the rent in my house? So it's okay. So the worst it can happen is that I cannot live here. So when am I going to live? And I did exactly what you said. I went and looked where I can live and I can afford it and where I'm going to have a different job instead of that. So that question and what you just said is so important in order to take risk. Is you call it the safety net, and I really like that concept. What's your safety net? I call it what is my plan B?
Right.
If it doesn't work, what is my plan B? So thank you very much. Really, Justin, it has been wonderful and delightful conversation. And thank you for your time and for sharing your heart and your journey and especially your wisdom with us today. And for those who are
Yeah.
listening, just remember that allowing yourself is a everyday job. Where you are going to allow yourself today, there is so many places to go. So just give yourself permission to take up space, risk, rest, to begin again, and especially just become what you are meant to be and you're happy with. So thank you very much, Justin, and we'll be in touch.
Yep. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
One word you're taking? One
Sorry?
word? One word you're taking with you?
I don't know. I'd have to think on that one because I'm already in the mind of like I gotta go make dinner now because it's 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very
My word is family because I gotta go make dinner for everybody. And my wife was just texting me while we were recording, being like, "Can you
yeah.
call me?" And I'm like, "I'll call you in 5 minutes."
Good. So thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.
Of course.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. All right, bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much.